Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're sourcing writing instruments or office supplies in 2026, you already know the game has totally changed. We aren't just talking about churning out mass-produced, cheap basics anymore. No, this is a highly sophisticated, high-tech ecosystem now. We're talking custom-engineered pens, eco-certified paper, and award-winning lifestyle brands. Today, I want you to put on your procurement manager hats. Think like a pro buyer. This explainer is your ultimate B2B sourcing guide to the top 10 players in the industry and exactly how you need to evaluate them. All right, let's just lay it all out there. Here is our map of the top 10 suppliers dominating this space right now. And as you can see, there is a massive spectrum of capabilities here. On one end, you have an absolute integrated giant like Deli, whose core strength is providing this comprehensive global office ecosystem. They are perfect for bulk wholesalers who literally need to fill entire shipping containers. But then, contrast that with a highly specialized player like Kinbor, who focuses almost entirely on artistic journals for niche e-commerce sellers. Knowing exactly who does what, that is the absolute foundation of your entire sourcing strategy. To make sense of all this, we're going to use what we call the three-tier verification logic. So, here's our agenda for today. First, a quick 2026 market overview. Then we'll hit Tier 1, compliance and responsibility. Next is Tier 2, customization capacity. After that, Tier 3, price-volume balancing. And finally, we'll wrap up with procurement realities and testing. Let's dive right into Section 1, our 2026 market overview. So, the beating heart of our whole strategy today is this, the three-tier verification logic. If you're a supply chain director or a purchasing manager, you know you aren't just typing pens into a directory anymore, right? You need a rock-solid strategic framework. Top-level procurement teams evaluate these factories by meticulously balancing three things: strict regulatory compliance, the physical ability to customize the product, and the capacity to hit absolute price and volume targets. Because let's be real for a second, relying on generic B2B directories, that's just a recipe for disaster these days. To avoid those massive procurement pitfalls, you really have to master the specific manufacturing superpowers of these top players. A supplier that is perfectly built to pump out a flawless 99-cent gel pen is almost certainly going to fail at producing a high-end, minimalist corporate gift. It's like asking a marathon runner to suddenly win a weightlifting competition. It just doesn't work. Moving right along to Section 2, this is Tier 1, compliance and responsibility. Okay, if you're targeting major Western markets like the US or the EU, these certifications are absolutely non-negotiable. I'm talking about BSCI and SEDEX for social responsibility, ISO 14001 for environmental management, REACH and ROHS for European chemical compliance, and ASTM D4236 for non-toxic safety in the US. You know the drill. The large retail chains simply will not let you in the door without these. They aren't nice-to-haves, they are mandatory hurdles. And keeping up with these crazy strict standards year-round, it takes massive capital. That's why you really need the giants for this Tier 1 compliance. Guys like BIFA and M&G, they actually have the deep pockets to sustain this. Guangbo is doing some amazing things too. They're currently leading the industry's shift toward FSC-certified carbon-neutral paper production. And what if you're targeting the educational export market? Well, TrueColor is your go-to there, because they maintain incredibly strict non-toxic ASTM certifications for all their art tools. Which brings us to Section 3. Let's talk about Tier 2, customization capacity. So, once you've checked all those compliance boxes, you gotta ask yourself, what kind of customization do I actually need? Because there is a massive, massive difference between hardcore technical engineering and nimble design agility. Formulating custom ink requires heavy R&D and labs, but building a trendy design-led lifestyle brand, that requires aesthetic flexibility. So let's look at who leads in each of these specific categories. When we talk about technical superpowers, you're really looking at BIFA and Snow White. Take BIFA, for example. They're a national demonstration enterprise over in Ningbo. They aren't just making pens, they literally focus on the science of writing, holding over 3,000 patents. They're your ultimate performance partner if you need custom-engineered writing instruments, highly specific ink flows, or complex custom molds. Meanwhile, you've got Snow White out of Qingdao. They basically revolutionized the domestic market with their free ink liquid ink rollerball systems. So if you want a writing experience that rivals those premium Japanese brands, these are your absolute technical heavyweights. But hey, on the flip side, what if you need design superpowers? That's where Keiko and Kinbor step in. Keiko is all about that new China aesthetic, super minimalist, utilizing premium imported macrolon materials, and winning Red Dot Design Awards left and right. They are absolutely perfect for premium corporate gifting or boutique Shopify brands. Then there's Kinbor, who completely dominates the Tekju daily planner community. If you need gorgeous artistic covers, intricate embroidery, and fountain pen-friendly paper to sell to stationery addicts on Etsy or TikTok Shop, Kinbor gives you the exact agility you need. All right, shifting gears to Section 4. This is Tier 3, price volume balancing. 1 million units. Just let that number sink in for a second. If you're a purchasing manager suddenly tasked with sourcing 1 million units of a standard black gel pen, your entire sourcing logic has to flip. You aren't looking for custom macrolon molds anymore, right? You're looking for raw, unadulterated industrial power and extreme scale. For those massive, cost-sensitive runs, think of your typical mass-market 99-cent retail pen. You need absolute beasts of scale like Aiho and Daily. Aiho, which is located in the Wenzhou cluster, is actually the world's largest single-factory producer of pens. How do they pull that off? High-speed automation. They utilize these massive economies of scale and fully automated lines to virtually eliminate human error. This ensures consistent quality while driving the unit cost down to the absolute floor of the industry. Okay, let's bring it all home with Section 5, Procurement Realities and Testing. First things first, you've got to understand the geography of your supply chain. It's like a giant puzzle, and this industry is incredibly clustered. The Zhejiang Ningbo cluster, that is the absolute dominant force for traditional stationery, housing heavyweights like Delhi, Beifa, and Guangzhou. Wenzhou, like we just mentioned, is the massive hub for mass-market pens like Aiho. But if you're sourcing business hardware, office electronics, like say heavy-duty shredders from Comics, or high-end design products from Kako, you actually need to look south to the Guangdong cluster. Now let's get real about volume expectations. Can you just call up these top 10 factories and order a tiny custom batch? Well, no, definitely not. High minimum order quantities, or MOQs, are pretty much the standard here, usually starting at around 10,000 units. If you're just testing a new market or a new product line, you're going to need to use their official distributors or their ready-to-ship B2B storefronts to buy their existing branded stock. Finally, before you sign on the dotted line for a massive bulk contract, how do you actually verify the quality? You demand a stress test sample. Seriously, every professional buyer must perform this exact 3-step protocol. Step 1, altitude leakage. You actually have to simulate air freight conditions to make sure the pens aren't going to explode in transit. Step 2, cap-off time. Literally, how long does it take for the pen to dry out when you leave the cap off? And Step 3, writing length. You physically measure the total ink capacity in meters to guarantee it actually meets your specifications. No guesswork allowed. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with something to chew on. Take a hard look at your current sourcing model. Ask yourself, is your 2026 supply chain strategy optimized merely for price? Or are you actually securing the compliance, the customization, and the innovation your brand needs to survive in a fiercely competitive market? The best suppliers in the world are out there, and they're more advanced than ever before. It's time to evaluate them strategically. Thanks for hanging out with me on this deep dive into China's top stationery suppliers.